maybe there is a disconnect from Ajay ji. Okay, wait for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I think there is a disconnect from Ajay ji, so he will join back. So meanwhile, just an important note is, please keep your YouTube link accessible. In case you have disconnect from LinkedIn, please make sure that you have an YouTube link. That is one important notice. The second thing is, please post your questions to all the speakers, even if they have completed the sessions. So we make sure that those questions get answered. And if you would like to connect to them, just let us know. We will do that. Okay. So just Praveen, just check with maybe you can give a call to.
Yeah, yes, sir, I'm
Uh,
good.
yeah. Yeah. So stay tuned for a minute. So very interesting sessions from today morning. So we had Ravi Ramanathan talking about AI and analytics for business excellence, strategy management, and decision intelligence. And Arvind Saraf talking about performance management for business excellence. Mohan is talking about design thinking in ESG. So this is the fourth session for today. We talk about India against bots, very technology driven for financial transformation. Uh, Very insightful. Maybe it's a little more modern topic, maybe technology topic, which I think many of us not aware of it. When if Ajay ji joins, well, we would like to conclude the topic. Yeah. So just we'll just ping Ajay ji in case if he can come back. Not sure. Yeah. We would like to just wait for a minute to hear from Ajay Nair. Send a message. So meanwhile, Praveen, just make sure that Rudolf D'Souza is,
Yes, sir.
yeah, is available. So maybe he has some technology, maybe connectivity issue or something. No problem. Yeah. So if Ajay ji joins, no, we can always take a conclusion from him. So instead of keeping audience waiting, so we can just continue. Sure. Problem. No problem. So let Rudolph join us. The next speaker maybe has some issue. No problem. Good afternoon, Mr. Rudolph. Nice to see you again. So thank you for joining the session today.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, we have 10 more minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so maybe you can use that for the introduction and
Yes.
the things.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just want to check if I can share the screen.
Yeah. So let me do introduction. Okay. Then maybe we can talk about it. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Rudolf D'Souza. Uh, Rudolf D'Souza will talk about how to design strategy for unknowable. Rudolf is an organizational transformation leader with 20 plus years of experience, a creator of whole organizational engagement, driving culture embedded ESG, sustainability, and engagement initiatives that harness collective intelligence to deliver self sustaining and high impact outcomes. So, welcome, Rudolf ji. You can talk more about yourself because you will get some few more minutes time. So, yeah,
No, what I'd
please.
like to tell Praveen is that Praveen, you share with the screen because somehow I'm not able to share the screen from here. I've sent the presentation to him.
Yeah, sure, sir. I will.
Yeah. So actually today I'm going to talk on a very important new concept, on strategy. And all strategies have actually been designed many decades back. They were designed in an age where actually change was expected, but change was supposed to be linear. It was supposed to be incremental. There were not so many factors, so the complexity was less. And so therefore today I'm going to take it's a bit of a serious topic. It's a bit of a bit of a heavy topic also. And normally it takes you 2 to 3 days of training plus another year or two of implementation before you can actually apply what I'm going to talk to you about. But I've got this 45 minutes in which I'm going to give you a glimpse of how to create strategy in a complex situation. Today we don't know the future, what is happening. So it is important for us. So the framework that I'm going to put for you, it is not a model, it is a framework. When we talk of models, models are basically used when it reflects the reality. But today I'm talking about a framework, okay, and I hope that the audience will gain from this.
Look forward.
Yeah. So Praveen, if you're able to share my screen, can I start, or do you want me to wait a bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait 2 seconds, sir. I will share.
Yeah. I'm a strong believer in whole organization engagement. So I do believe that lot people have intelligence, and how can you harness that intelligence, the creativity of people, in order to also help you in your strategies, organization strategies, execution, getting better ideas. So this is one of the frameworks that actually helps you to do it. And I would like the audience, whatever challenges you're facing, if you can put it on the screen and we can have a discussion on that, in this thing, it would be really helpful.
Yeah. Are you sharing, Praveen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Praveen, is my screen now available to see?
Did you try to share it, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Just share the screen and select the whole screen.
Yes, I did. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
The
Not
presentation?
yet. Not yet. Maybe it comes.
Mm, okay.
I mean, in 2 seconds. Even share it with me in case if you have any difficulty.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, now some screen is coming up. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can put it into a slide mode if you want.
Um, okay.
You can see the screen now.
Praveen, you're sharing it or I'm sharing it? Let me just try
It is
this.
from my end. You can go.
You're
Yeah,
from your end. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. So, friends, welcome all of you to this session. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about how to design for an unknown future. Today, we are facing so much of volatility and so designing a strategy is quite a lot has with the guessing game. Secondly, when we design a strategy, we might find that few months down the line something has happened, and it may not work the way we expected it to work. So, how do you design something that is robust, okay, and that is able to actually help you execute your strategy better? So, please move to the next screen. So, what's the significance of this date? Could anyone share this in the chat, or you want to unmute if you can and tell me what's the significance of this date? 20th January, exact months back. Something happened, and the world has not been the same ever since. I won't wait for answers because I have got a short time. The 20th of January 25 is when Donald Trump was installed as the president of the US. And ever since then, the world is facing daily volatility. Every day, something new. He's the only person who's been in the news constantly every day since he took over. Open the newspaper, definitely you'll see Donald Trump. Even our popular prime minister is not so much in the news as Donald Trump is. And this is global. And for India, it has been a major shakeup. We never expected that, there would be such a turmoil in our relationships, in the tariffs. There are some industries which are struggling. The rupee to dollar exchange rate has changed dramatically. So actually, we are in a VUCA and a bunny situation. You must have heard of the term VUCA. So it is a volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and a complex situation that we are in. And Bunny talks about being brittle. You must have heard the terms. Today we have moved from VUCA to Bunny. Actually, both are same. It is brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. Okay, so I'll explain these terms, but please understand the way I have put it forward is that I'm saying Bunny is something internal, VUCA is external. Okay, move to the next slide, please. So Bunny talks about being brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. Okay, next slide, please. What I have taken a stance here is that I am taking that Bunny is all about internal factors. So while VUCA is about external factors. So when we talk of Bunny, the brittleness part of it, today organizations still have got rigid hierarchies. Management wants to control, whereas you've got youngsters who have come into the organization with expectations, with good qualifications. They want to be able to use their intelligence. That's why I talk a lot about whole organization intelligence. Okay, a lot of anxiety is being created. There's a whole employee burnout. You hear of employee suicides happening, which was not the case earlier. And there is a non-linear, there's so much of disconnect. Small efforts, small factors, are leading to drastic changes. Take, for example, the changes in the PF rules. Take the changes that, so now people's basic have to be more than 50%. And this is affecting organization people, their entire EMIs, etc., have to change because their income tax has changed. So people are living in that thing. Small changes are actually creating non-linear sort of effects. And even in organizations, small changes the organization makes, saying that, okay, we are going to change this policy, and it has a lot of effect. Like an organization which I know, they just said that, okay, we will not be covering your parents free of cost for their insurance. We would like you to pay for it because things have become expensive, etc. And this caused so much of resentment in the organization. So that was something that the company had to then realize and had to withdraw that, because it was not of great cost to the company, but in terms of employee satisfaction, it created a hangama in the organization. Secondly, we are fed with information overload, and there's a lack of clear picture. There's no direction given. People don't know what is my role in the organization strategy. So there's a lot of fear. So this is bunny. These are all internal organization factors. We'll move to VUCA. The next slide, please, which is about volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Please move to the next one. We have never seen so much of volatility, the rate of change that is happening. Today, everyone is talking about three things that are changing. One is AI is coming in. Secondly, climate change. And third is the external factors in terms of tariffs, taxes, etc., and so on. Okay, you can move to the next slide. So the rate of change, we've never seen such fluctuations ever since 20th of January. Praveen, move to the next slide, please. And there's so much of social media constantly being bombarded. You open your feed in the morning and you're fed with a lot of information which you may have researched, but it keeps bombarding you. And these algorithms actually are danger because they feed you only what you have looked at once or twice. You may want other views, but you are actually being fed. Today, a large, and I also talk about a large bit of anxiety is coming because we are not looking at the newspapers, which is a printed media. We're looking only at the online media, not even television. Move to the next one, please. And there's so much of uncertainty, climate change, regulations, tariffs. So it has been such a decade of uncertainty. Ever since coronavirus, things have changed. People started working from home. We thought things would be better, etc. But again, that stress has come in now. And finally, things move to the next slide. It's about complexity. We are not sure what is affecting what. When we try to do something, there's so many different factors which are affecting the organization and your decision making. So, and the last slide, please, on VUCA. This is about ambiguity. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So, no, no, previous slide. So, look at this dot. Is it inside the box or outside the box? Each one will have their own different view on this, whether the dot is inside. So, there's so much of ambiguity, and everyone is taking such a rigid stance that my stance is right, and thing, etc. So, there's so much of ambiguity even across whether it is related to tariffs or whether it is related to anything else. For example, I there's a example that I recently came across a German company. It has its manufacturing in Germany, China, India, and Mexico. And they closed down their manufacturing in Germany. It was too expensive. So they focused a lot on Mexico and said Mexico would supply to US. And what happened? 20th of Jan, Trump came in and said, no, Mexico cannot supply. So then India became the next preferred supplier. But now and anyway, China was out of favor. So there was tariffs on China. And so what has happened is that now there are tariffs on India. So this company is feeling that why did we close our German facility? You know, so there is so much of ambiguity and that is going on. Next slide, please. So actually, if you see the today, what is the modern this thing situation in which we are in when we have to take strategy? There's some things, many things are unsolvable. They're complex and they're often messy. There are a lot of threatening, okay, enigmatic, okay. And there are multiple choices that we need to make. And sometimes the choices we make in hindsight turn out to be wrong, like I explained about this company. Okay, move to the next slide. So I'm sure people will be thinking everything is VUCA, everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So I want to ask the question, really, is everything a VUCA situation? Is it a bunny situation? Okay, next slide, please. Next one. Just pause. Okay. So because we are seeing so much of volatility around us, we believe that everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and we are struggling in taking decisions. But look at what is on the screen right now. Some things are predictable. There is a normal customer complaint, or there is a software that you want to tweak, or you're recruiting at a lower level. Okay, so these just press once, please, Praveen. Praveen, just press the one. Yeah. So these are business as usual scenarios. Okay, so a customer complaint, software tweak, etc. Sometimes when we have to expand our operations, we are going into a new geography. Praveen, just wait. I'll tell you when to shift. Now keep it like that. Sometimes we're expanding to a new geography. Okay, or we are onboarding a new customer, or we are recruiting at a senior level. What we need to do is that we need to actually bring in expertise. We need to have discussions, etc. The first one is like a checklist. We keep a checklist and people can go. So there are different parts of a business which are actually very stable, very stable. They are acting very stably. So you need to understand that, okay, this aspect of my organization or this part of my strategy, what I have to look after, this is actually very stable part of it. Maybe it works. Sometimes I may need to use a little bit of expertise, but these are stable parts of my business. Praveen, press next one. But sometimes there can be chaos. Like the virus came in so suddenly. Started sometime in March, we became aware of coronavirus. 20th of, just hold it, Praveen. 20th of March, we were into a lockdown. Okay, and the whole world changed. Sometimes you can have floods or the AQI, like in Delhi and North India, what is happening right now. The AQI is crossing 500. It is not even showing on the readings. Or what happened at Indigo recently. There was a pilot shortage and the entire industry got disrupted. So these are situations where there are breakdowns, where there's chaos, where there's disorder. Okay, so some parts of a business are very stable and sometimes there is a breakdown and chaos. Okay, next, Praveen, again. Yes. And there are situations where there are too many variables to know what is affecting what. Okay, like today it's the geopolitical and the volatile tariffs that an organization is facing. In certain industries like textiles, what has happened is that they've just sort of shut down. People have lost their jobs, etc., because the market has changed. They cannot now supply to their regular people, so they're trying different experiments, etc. But it has come as a break. Okay, then there are changing regulations. Okay, or sometimes there are shifting customer preferences. Like, for example, in Bangalore, because of the traffic situation, people started going less and less to restaurants or going to malls because of the traffic situation. Now the rents are very high. So suddenly you come into a situation where what do you do? Should you continue with the rent? Should you close down your restaurant? If you go take home, do I need such a big area? These are situations. So, Praveen, okay, so this part is VUCA. On the left-hand side, top corner is VUCA situations. Okay, where there are too many variables to know what is affecting what. Okay, so this is a VUCA situation. So in your organizations, some parts are stable and some parts are volatile. Some parts are not near control, where it is chaos, breakdown, etc., not near control. Where it is a VUCA situation, I am going to talk to you a framework that you can use in order to create your strategies. Praveen, please press the button once more, once more, and once more. So what I have done is that I have framed this, put it into a frame, and I have drawn lines. Remember, I have not created horizontal and vertical line. So this is not a grid. This is not a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, this is a volatile matrix. Okay, I've just drawn lines to differentiate it, and I have put definitions for it. Now, these are, I want you to note down, these are actual technical definitions. So it is a clear domain. So these we call them domains. Clear is when you can use a checklist, close your eyes and take a decision. Somebody comes into your room and says that this voucher has to be signed, travel voucher. There's nothing, no intelligence to be used, just sign the travel voucher. Okay. There's something that we are entering a new geography. We need a new person. Yes, that little expertise. Who do you hire, etc. Expertise is required. That's a complicated domain. Okay. Then you got the chaotic domain. Okay, where it's not in your control. It is suddenly there's a breakdown. It has happened. And the other complex domain, there are many variables, etc. I'll be teaching you a little bit on a framework how to use this. Okay, so this is the framework. Praveen, you can press the button thrice. Now you need to tailor your response according to the domain in which you are. Okay, there are three types of systems that we are talking of. Praveen, press the button once. So this is the ordered systems. There are three types of systems. Ordered systems, complicated and clear. Praveen, this is the chaotic domain. And finally, we have got the complex domain. Okay, just hold it here. I want you to understand that we are now talking of three different types of systems. Okay, so I want you all to pay attention as we go forward. This is a very important for you to understand in terms of the systems. Okay, that these are ordered, complex, and chaotic. Okay, so I hope that you got it. A system is a network that is governed by constraints that create coherence. So you need to work together. When I talk of constraints, these could be thumb rules, these could be rules, etc. I'll explain by proper example in a minute. Okay. And there are a lot of agents that work. Agents could be individuals, teams, or ideas that work in it. Okay. So can we move to the next slide, please? What I've actually shown you is a conniving framework. Okay. The conniving framework is designed by Cognitive Edge, headed by Dave. They have worked on this framework for more than 2 decades, and only now it is emerging. Especially after 20th of Jan, people have started realizing we need new frameworks to operate in a complex environment. So, like I showed you on the right, you got complicated and you got clear. So, in a complicated and clear, you can use your best practices or you can use good practices. Whereas on the left hand side, when things are chaotic or when things are complex, when it is chaotic, you can do nothing about it. You only have to act. For example, when Indigo Airlines went into a tailspin recently, what did the government do? They realized the only way of bringing the situation back is we act, we defer the rules. Now, it may be fair, unfair, whatever, but they had to act in order to bring the chaos and stop the chaos. Okay, so they have acted and said, okay, we will defer the rules. It'll all be investigated later, but right now, in a chaotic situation, you have to act. When it is floods, when floods happen, what do you do? Do you wait for or of discussions? You'll have a whole discussion and then you'll take an action. Okay, we need to move out of our home. No, you will immediately start acting. So in a chaotic situation, you need to act. Okay, and that time a lot of novel situations can come up. Okay, and in a complex situation, you've got to keep probing. Complex situations, you have to be very close in the system. You have to be very connected with the system. And organization is actually a complex system. But what has happened? Management is using the right hand side. They're just giving directives and wanting to use. They are not able to sense. So in a complex system, you have to actually probe, sense what is working, and then you have to respond accordingly. Okay. The word exaptive is there, so I'll explain exaptive in a little while. Okay. Move to the next slide, please. I've given the link for that. You can go to conniving.co, okay, and you can see this. There's a lot of reading material also. So I've taken to show you what's an ordered system, what is a chaotic system, and what is a complex system. I've taken the example of traffic. On the right hand side, you can see an ordered system where there are rules, and people obey the rules, they follow the rules. Okay, so this is actually an ordered system. We call them constraints. Okay, so traffic rules, they are we call them constraints. So constraint is not something that is constraining you, but it is in a way it is constraining you, but people follow. All the agents, that is the individuals, teams, etc., work within those constraints, and therefore you have order. Okay, but when you don't have any order, then you have a chaotic situation. Now in Delhi, the traffic is actually complex, but what they did some time back, in order to remove the constraints that manage the traffic, they removed all the barriers, basically the toll barriers, and it resulted in a chaotic situation. So you need to have constraints in order to have an ordered system. Mind what I'm talking about. You need to have constraints, you need to have guidances, you need to have rules. If there are no rules, there is a breakdown. Imagine an organization, it's a laissez-faire, this thing, we all say, oh, we need to all work together as one big family. It is does not work in practice. In an organization, you need rules, you need regulations, but you also need a lot of empathy and you need to be working closely with people. And that's how a complex system works. In most Indian cities, look at the traffic. So while there are roads, we have rules, but this is what actually happens. People don't follow exactly in terms of lanes. You can see out there, you can see auto rickshaws, you can see two-wheelers, you can see tempos, you can see buses, you can see luxury cars, but the system is working. There are sort of thumb rules that work. When a foreigner comes to India and they are in this sort of traffic, they say, I don't know how you manage. But intuitively, people are talking, people are chatting, etc., and all that. But the system is working. In a complex system, there are certain principles or there are thumb rules. Heuristics is what we call it at work. Okay, and you keep nudging the system. Okay, you cannot have complete order in a complex system, but you need to bring in order if you want to make it into an ordered system. Okay, but you need to be very close in the system to influence the behavior. Okay, and the whole is not sum of the parts. For example, if you take a car and you decommission it, make it into all the individual components, an expert can come and put it back together. Okay, so that is an ordered system. In a complex system, it is something like your tomato ketchup. Okay, you take a spoon of tomato ketchup or a bottle of tomato ketchup. Unlike a car, you cannot make it into its individual components and then put it back. You know what goes into it, but then it is so that's complex systems. Okay, just a little bit of difference between the two. Or a clock is actually a complicated system or an ordered system, but mayonnaise is a complex system. Okay, we'll move to the next slide, please. So this is really the conniving framework that I have revealed to you and shown you that how you can construct it. I did not show you the screen and say that, okay, now we will look at what is ordered, what is chaotic, what is the complex. I took actual situations and I built it up. Okay. So now let's see how we can use this framework in order to build our strategy in a complex situation when you don't know what is going to happen in future. Let's focus a little bit on this screen. Okay. In terms of complex situations where you say that you probe, sense, and then you respond. Okay, and there's something called exaptive. So earlier you see good and you see best. These are good practices or these are best practices that you used in order system. In a complex system, you see what you can borrow from elsewhere. Okay, so is there something that I can use? For example, you have got this lovely in India. We have this entire platform for your UPI platform. Now WhatsApp, Google Pay, etc. WhatsApp also now you can use it for paying your bills because they have exapted the UPI payment and their WhatsApp platform. in order for you to enable payments to be made very easily. Okay. So these are examples of exaptive, where you can use something else, borrow from something else, and use it in your system. I'm sorry, a lot of English is going into this, but let me try and put it into a system. I've given the links below, the conniving.co that you can go to for the framework, and there are a lot of examples out there. Can we move to the next slide, please? So we'll talk about complex system, the nature of complexity. For example, when you on National Geographic, you see this a lot. This is called murmurations. Okay, so you'll see birds which are flying very close. A whole swarm of birds will be flying. They'll move in all different directions, yet the birds don't clash. They don't fall down to the ground, etc. In the ocean, you'll see shoals of fish that are moving. They don't clash into each other. But what happens is that there are certain governing constraints. Slight movement can cause massive this thing. Slight changes can cause massive movement in the system. This is what complex systems does, and this is an example of that. Take the case of Delhi. Today, Delhi is facing a crisis because of the air pollution. So they are trying now. When you are trying to figure, we'll keep that example in front of us when you're looking at the Delhi air quality. So it is, you need to look at the situation. You can't sit from Mumbai and keep dictating what needs to be done. You need to know what is the situation on the ground. You need to have multiple safe to fail experiments going on and avoid premature convergence. Let me explain. In Delhi, some time back, they did cloud seeding. I'm just saying, supposing they had done cloud seeding and it worked on that particular day. That is premature convergence. Will it work throughout the winter? That we need to see. Secondly, every year, Diwali time, they say they ban firecrackers. But firecrackers are not really, only on those days it peaks. But firecrackers are not the root cause. Complex system. You know, you have still experiments that are going on, and this is what people are not understanding. They are having grab 3, grab 4, grab 5. Nothing is working. Why? Because these are all in isolation. In a complex system, you have to have multiple experiments going on. They could be contradictory in nature. Okay. And you need to avoid confusing correlation with causation. Okay. They say, oh, because the buildings have gone up, therefore construction has gone up, therefore our it has become foggy. But what happens in summer when it is not foggy? Why is it that construction is still going on, and yet you don't have that fog that you have during the winter months? You know, so these are what happens in a complex system. Okay, you need to navigate a whole landscape of possibilities. Okay, so it's very difficult. Now, in an organization, when you are trying to create your strategy, now it could be an organization, if you're an HR, you're trying to create the culture of the organization. You need to have multiple things going on. You cannot just dictate and say that, okay, these days are going to be marked as employee celebrations days. You know, so we're going to have uh, get together. So you have to have, overnight, you go out for employee bonding. Employee bonding does not happen like that. By your behaviors, you need to understand that by behaviors, automatically trust is built up, employee bonding takes place. All too often, we forget it. And we just give one experiment we do and we say, oh, it has succeeded. Okay. This is the problem in organizations today. And that is why you're having bunny situations in organizations. We are not trying to see. In a complex situation, you cannot tell people what behaviors they have to do. You have to actually improve the interactions, and you have to say, okay, things like this we should have. How do we improve these interactions? Okay, somebody has done a very good job. Don't say this is the behavior we want. How can you improve the interactions so that the same behaviors are repeated over time? So this is really what complexity talks about. A lot of English on the screen, but how to relate into reality? Next slide, please, Praveen. So actually, you are modulating, you're not controlling. Okay, so let me explain the difference between modulation and controlling. Controlling is when you give a whip, and modulating is when you nudge the system. Okay, you nudge, nudge, and nudge, and take it forward. Have you played bagatelle? I don't know. I played bagatelle. So you put the marble, and there are some pins. The marble hits the pin and moves either to the left or to the right, and you get more points or less points. But what the pin actually does, it modulates the speed so that the marble does not rush straight down, and get trapped in one of the balls, or it gets you a zero. Okay, so that is the what you call a modulating system. So in organizations, you need to actually modulate the system. In society, there are modulators. Example, the press or the civil society. Okay, so it helps the government in order to gauge and see that, okay, are my actions good or my actions are not good. The moment you remove the modulators, it becomes dictatorial. So you need to see in an organization, how can we have, there are a lot of critics in organization. What do you do with critics? With critics, you need to give them something to work on. Say, I know that you're unhappy with this. Can you come out with an experiment and I will give you funding or I will give you time, etc. An experiment. Now, if that critic does not take it up, you know that that guy is actually in intention is not good. But if the wanting the organization to succeed, give him something to work on and say that we will help you. Okay, and we will nudge, and that's how we go forward. Criticism is good because it acts as a modulator. So that is something that we need to look at. So in a system, and you need to constantly have safe to fail experiments that keep going up. Okay. And I told you it's about interaction between things, not exactly the things. For example, if you send people outside the organization on an overnight and say that, okay, employee bonding, that won't happen. Can you improve the interaction between them? Final last two slides, please. Next slide. So this is an example that I'm taking. People who are not from India may not understand about much about cricket, but this was a great moment. Now, cricket is actually a complex game. So no matter what, the outcome is always in doubt. And if you see what the team do, the Indian women's team, they did intervention basically towards the goal that, okay, we want to win this, and then it'll actually help us towards the trophy. They didn't say, okay, we need to, sort of experiment. Safe to fail. They brought in people, etc. And it's finely grained. It is very close to what is happening. So they are able to quickly change, etc. So overall, whenever you're designing a portfolio of strategies, see that something the oblique in nature. When I was working with an organization recently, one of the things that we did is that they were wondering whether they wanted to capture market share. But we said, why don't you do white labeling? So they actually manufactured a batch for another organization, and they experiment in an area where it would not become well known, too well known. So some things which are oblique in nature include some naive approaches. Okay, so for example, one coffee chain recently were having a problem because people are sitting for hours but not ordering too much of things. So they started giving them incentives that saying that, okay, every 45 minutes we will give you a voucher for 10% off, and so these are naive. Okay, and you take a few high risk, high return options that you do. So in your portfolio, check that, okay, if I give, for example, facing a major issue of customer satisfaction, they said, okay, can we give 300 rupees voucher to every customer complaint to be resolved? Now the management felt this is a high risk because then the agents, whoever the customer service agents, would give 300 rupees off to every incident, but it did not happen. In the end, it was a high risk but a high return because they were able to satisfy customers, because now they had a freedom in which really either give a discount or in a mobile space where 300 rupees means a full month's RPU, what they call, revenue per unit, monthly revenue per unit. So this is really what you do. What changes are possible and what can we monitor for impact? And if successful, can we amplify? If it fails, can we recover from that? Okay, so this is something like what the women's cricket team did. They tried to see how can we minimize our failures and can we amplify something that is working. Okay. Next slide. So I have taken you through the conniving framework. It's an excellent framework to work in complex situations. The Dave Snowden, if he sees this presentation, will kill me because I've simplified it. It is not that simple as I've tried to make it out to be, but I wanted to attract you to go and look at it because this is going to help you. Okay, next slide. Ultimately, it's a paradox that as leaders you can't predict, but you have to make sense to thrive. So with that, I'll next slide, please. My details are here. If you would like to with me, LinkedIn file is also by the organizers. I'm very happy to have had this occasion of interacting with all of you. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to add value in such a short
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So great, great lecture, Rudolf sir. I think the Sinophen framework. Okay, can you
Hmm,
just talk about that? So is that
hmm.
how popular is it, and how can we deploy everywhere? Mhm.
Yeah. So the conniving framework, okay, it's a well word called conniving, and it was worked out over 2 decades. There are multiple frameworks, but I okay, on the framework. What he does that he looks at you create domains in the sense that you look at all the decisions you have to make and see, do I have all the information I require? If that is the case, just go ahead with best practices. Do I need some more expertise, etc.? That is a complicated domain. Okay, so then in that case, then use some best practices, getting people, getting experts, etc., and move. If you're in a chaotic situation, you have to act in order to stop the chaos. Okay, so that you need to remember. We normally never plan for random events, we can't plan. But just keep in mind that when you're in a chaotic situation, just act. Okay, don't wait for anything because it can go out of hand and it can bring down the organization itself. Okay, so you need to act.
So that is more
Focus a lot on
important.
the complex. Yes, yes, yes. Don't think, act. Okay, and bring control. That's all. Then you can look at it and how you want to manage it and so on. And finally, so many of our decisions are in the complex domain. How do you take the organization? You want to bring in a new culture. Okay, what is
Mhm.
it that I need to be doing? Oh, somebody has announced that, okay, we'll give 5,000. Maybe it doesn't work in my context. Don't borrow ideas. Try multiple probes if you're looking at organization culture. If you look at market, it's very difficult today. For example, car manufacturers, 7 years it takes to create the chassis and then to announce it. But what did Tata do recently when they relaunched one of their old models? They gave the customers, said, you do customization. 1.5 lakh customers, 70,000 booked on the first day, 1.5 lakh said, I want this customization. The chassis is the same, but they allow them to change the
Mhm.
colors, add a LCD, this, that. So these are so many things that you can do in a complex domain where you involve your customers, but you need to be very close to it and see what works. And then cauliflower. A cauliflower has a certain design, but it continues in a big cauliflower. You break a cauliflower into a small thing. So look for something that works when it is small. Start to scale up, scale up, scale up, and then see that it doesn't reach a breaking point. Maybe it's something that you move your organization. Really, the conniving that you need to look at, and it is not a 2 by 2 matrix. You can't draw it and say, "I'll develop it here" as you go forward. And there's multiple things I thought in this 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's very insightful. Very insightful.
Hmm.
I think that is applicable for everywhere, especially
Yes,
with
yes, yes.
this volatile environment. Okay,
Correct.
so organization should not wait. And
Yes,
in summary, what I understand is you try to do experiments in a smaller way and
yes,
try to see what works and what does not work, and don't
correct,
stop it and one or two
correct.
options. find more
That's right.
options. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And other thing is that when I talk about whole engagement, look at the micro
Mhm,
narrative.
mhm,
Normally, when we do organization strategy, we put a question and ask everyone to answer.
mhm,
Give me an incident, and now you rate it and tell us that, okay, is it something that was in line with our values? Maybe our values could have been improved better. Maybe this is something that the customer is asking for. Micro narratives that are coming out, and you have softwares today help you on that. So
mhm,
Conniving Framework has a software called SenseMaker. You put everything onto the
mhm,
SenseMaker where there are
mhm,
pockets on which you can work on. You know what are isolated incidents and what. So you get early warning signals, what they call. You can do it for
mhm,
business. You can do it for employees.
mhm. Rudolf, we have few more minutes in case if you would like to elaborate any other topic of things. So, uh, uh, if you have any few, we have few more minutes, by the way.
I,
Mhm, mhm,
yeah, sure. I wanted to give you an example of our Indian weddings. They're actually
mhm,
so. Whenever we of use of this frame related to something like now suddenly you've got multiple variables. You got your two. You have to consider them. You know their caste. Okay.
mhm,
Maybe it is an inter-religious or an inter-caste marriage. Consider. Okay. People are coming from different geographies. So complex domain, then you'll do some to fail experiments. Okay. So I do not know. We always take something and put it directly into our business. My
uh-huh,
thing is that look at your normal situations and then say, oh, in planning, I would say fail experiment.
mhm,
Whereas organizations, we don't do that. We forget. We let it behind when we enter. I think it's very important then that we not leave our humanity behind. Secondly, uh, to nudge us if we may not be do well. Collecting stories, ask employees, can you give me an example? Not where you think will not. Give me an example. Customer has
Praveen, what happened? Sorry. Yeah.
so that was what I was thinking about. Did not lost.
No. It got disconnected. Maybe myself, my internet or something.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have 5 more minutes, sir. You would like to give a key.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just I'm just trying to figure out the questions. So I don't find questions, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very dynamic topic. You raised it very interesting actually. I keep thinking about it. Okay, the matrix what you've shown, uh, that is very valid. Okay,
Yeah.
it does not. It is something new also. Maybe it's not in a normal business school
No, it is
concept.
not. Yes,
It
that's
is
right.
not really a business school concept. And as you rightly said, we are witnessing the volatility now. We have this year,
Correct.
2025, as you
Mm.
rightly said. So right from the beginning of the year, from US elections to Indigo. So I think we have so many examples now. The traditional strategy planning and strategy management will have challenge. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
now for a mid-size organizations, okay, not very large organizations, or mid-size organizations who are into manufacturing, logistics, or any other service businesses. So what they should do now, in a nutshell. So in going forward for
So
2026, so what is your advice? Mhm.
mid-sized organizations, and please start looking at your market and see what is something that is already working well and you don't too many issues that are happening. Okay, so that you start trying to see what I can scale up. Whatever you see now, very often we may not foresee what is happening. In any case, what you should do is that start experiments, and say that, okay, can we look at this? Can we look at, so I have already got so much of knowledge. Can I create my own consultancy, sell from my company and offer it to my competitor? Why? Because you never know with manufacturing tomorrow it can shut down. With pivot very add an
Correct.
overlay to your and offer a service is one of the experiments that you can do. So in this coming year, you can look at multiple
Mhm.
experiments. Even in manufacturing, I have got this manufacturing line. Can I open it to something else that can be manufactured for somebody? Okay. So I may have slack time. Okay. So
Mhm.
can I use it for somebody else? Look at adjacencies. So what we call naive elements, so can I use it in a, so these are some things that advise a mid-sized organization because they are at a very shaky position. You never know when they can fall off the ledge, okay, or they can,
Mhm.
and I am a strong believer that finance should not be your only resource that you should have a fallback of. Intelligence,
Mhm.
knowledge is the other fallbacks, so that is my submission. Artificial intelligence is coming in and people are looking upon it as, but I believe that it is like when computers first started, no applications. So they started experimenting. Small organizations
Mhm.
need to experiment a lot with artificial intelligence and say that, okay, where can I apply it? Can it improve my efficiencies, etc., and so on. So they
And
need to use it intelligently.
yeah, and the
Climate
knowledge
change is another
management.
area.
Yeah, knowledge
Yeah,
management, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, as you are. Mhm.
yeah. Climate change is another area. If you're
Mhm.
going to a different market, what are the regulations that are planning to be covered? You know, am I ready for it? See, today there is a problem in the country, pharmaceutical sector. They had created something called the good manufacturing practices, and they had declared the guidelines after COVID. It is coming into effect on 31st of December. This is another indigo situation that is happening. And out of the 35,000 pharmaceutical manufacturers, the top 10 or 15% exporting to the US, they are ready with the GMP practices. And the others are there's going to be a disruption in terms of small drugs, etc. And this is another. You need to be on top of the game. That, okay, regulations are changing. What do I need to be doing? Should I be in the market? Be out of the market? If I'm in the market, then I need to take this as an opportunity that I can start sporting also, you know, rather than
Mhm.
depending on government for my orders.
Mhm.
So these are many of the issues rise and what is happening, and then multiple experiments as you go forward.
Excellent. So fantastic. I think it was a wonderful lecture. I really enjoyed, Rudolf ji.
Thank you.
So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
session.
Yes.
It's been very nice seeing you again. So thank you very much, and give a
Thank
big
you.
round of applause to Mr. Rodolphe D'Souza for wonderful
Thank you.
lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, I'm sure you will have a questions because of the topic. If you have any questions or any scenario you would like to seek advice or help from Mr. Rudolph, please feel free. So you can reach directly to Rudolph, or you can ask us. We can just connect and make sure that you share your experiences and problems, and then get the solution. So we'll be very happy to do that. So thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
time. Have a
Thank you.
great
Bye
time.
bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.